the Lord kind of reminded me of something that I just felt led to share with you tonight. I really have to be careful because I fight a Martha spirit.
I'm going to talk about that Sunday.
Didn't even know. But that's me. I'm the guy that is always trying to make sure everything, because I'm all about the details. Just like right now, it's really, really bothering me because the youth just busted the crap out of this footstool, and so when I'm putting my feet on it, it's sagging and it's driving me crazy. And some of you are like, it's no big deal. You're right, it's not. But that's the way I'm wired and think. Huh? And yet I was just reminded tonight during that song in the story of Martha and Mary. Because if I remember right, Jesus wasn't making fun of Martha. It wasn't that Martha was necessarily doing anything wrong. She had great intentions. And I'm sure Jesus just enjoyed a great meal that Martha probably prepared for the most part on her own, or she wouldn't have been there saying what she was saying. But the key phrase of that whole story is, and I believe I'm paraphrasing, I didn't look this up because I was just reminded of it as we were worshiping, and I think it's something like, Mary has done the most important thing. And I think that's my deal and my struggle sometimes, is I'm caught up in all of the stuff that I sometimes forget the most important thing. I get wound up so tight when sometimes Jesus just wants me to just relax and sit at his feet and just bask in his presence. And yet I'm the guy thinking about all of the things. Partly because I feel like I'm paid to do that. But at the same time, we all need to have the priority that Mary had at certain times. Not always, not every time. I know there's times Jesse is not in here on a Sunday morning because he's back in kids. And it's where he should be. We need him there. But then there's other times when he's not there and he's needed elsewhere. How many of you are like that or like me?
Very, very much. Every day. Twice on Sunday.
So tonight, Father, we come before you with open hearts, and God, we just do lay down all those cares, those concerns, those worries, those, anybody like me, attention to the detail. And Father, the details 2 weeks from now won't matter. But the time we spend at your feet will. So Lord God, help us, help me to keep the main thing the main thing. Help me, God, to relax in your presence and find that joy when the enemy wants to remind you of all the things that are going wrong. When I have the opportunity to come together with my church family and just focus on everything that is right. And I'm learning that if I focus more on what is all right, it far outweighs the wrong list. But it doesn't seem so in my head. But it does. That is why James could so easily write and pen the words, I count it all joy. So God, help me to count it joy when it matters most. Help me, God, to see the end picture before it gets here. To trust and rely in you. And we thank you for that. In Jesus' name. And everyone said. Maybe that was just needed for me, I don't know, but I felt led to share it anyway, so if it wasn't for you, I'm sorry. Tonight, we are doing something a little different. We're going to continue where we left off last week. And for those who weren't here last week, we started a conversation I want to continue. And I said I want to hear from you. I want to hear what stood out to you as we have been the last few weeks in a series called Together, and specifically the power of following Jesus together. And I want to know what challenged you, what encouraged you. Maybe something God showed you about yourself or about your relationships with other people. And especially, I want us to think together about us as a church family. What are we doing well? Where could we grow? And what are some things we could actually do, not just pastors or leaders, but all of us together. We're in this thing together, right? Say together. To become the kind of church family we've been talking about throughout this series. So don't be afraid to speak up tonight. Share a thought, share a story, build on what someone else says, or someone jogs your memory. Raise your hand. And tonight I've called on Pastor Larry and Jackie. We'll have mics in the back there, so you don't have to wait when one's finished to raise your hand. Just raise your hand if you got something and keep it up, and they'll be watching for hands, and we'll just keep this moving as fast as we can, because we did this last week and I intended to get through all. We made it through half, and that was awesome. And so I thought, you know what, we're going to do it again. So tonight is about asking what we're going to do with what God has been revealing to us. And I think that's really, really good. So last week we talked about Welcome Home, that you belong in our series. And we talked about what we could each do to help somebody feel like they belong. And one of the answers, get here early, right? If you don't know someone next to you, take the time and going out of your comfort zone and introduce yourself. Ask them questions about their family. Get to know them. You know, just to put some statistics behind those things that we already spoke about, the top reasons people come out to church is the 5D theory. Are you ready for this? The 5 Ds that people come out to church who have not been to church either at all or in a long time. Are you ready? Divorce, death in the family, displacement, a move, disaster, or development. Guys, those are not nice things that people are going through when they're coming through. You know, the truth is, it's more like they're desperate than they are just, hey, I think I'm going to look for a brand new church. They're confused. They're lonely. They're scared. Many of them hopeless. Those are the people of the faces that you may see that you don't know. This gives us more reasons to go out of our way to make sure anyone we don't know feels welcome. Anyone we don't recognize feels like they belong. Because they're probably looking desperately for your communication and conversation. As small and tiny as it may be. Because guess what? If that one desperate, lonely person encounters 3 people of just a smile. I mean, just, can you smile? Let me see your smiles. Sometimes all it takes is a smile to let them know that you care. Not this overbearing, overzealous, pour over them type. They may not be into that. But a simple smile, a simple hello, a simple introduction can go a very, very long way. And this is the right step for the next topic we're discussing when we talked about caring one another. You're not alone. And we came up with some ideas of how we could, as a church, help each other carry the load. We came up with some great thoughts and ideas of how to build better relationships with the folks we encounter with at church. Offer to pray for them and with them. Come up and join them at the altar when they come. Remember, I said last week, so many of them are probably scared spitless just to walk the aisle to come up here and ask for prayer. how much would it mean to just feel a hand on their shoulder?
Sure, yeah.
Hey, even if they don't even put a body to the hand, you turn around and leave before they even get done, hey, guess what? You did your part. They know they weren't there alone. Of course, it'd mean more if you just stood till they were done and give them a hug if they're receptive to that. But again, don't force hugs on anybody, okay? So tonight we continue. We're going to get into the series week that we talked about, This is Family, and how God's family lives. So we've said all series that we're a family. So, mic's ready, hands ready to go up. What should God's family actually look like? What should God's family actually look like?
Grace.
Grace?
Ball rolling. Okay, so when Jesus was around, the kids came around. And he encouraged that. Now, if you think about this, you know Jesus had to be a happy person, joyful person, because kids don't go around no grumpy grouch. Right? Is that right? So maybe if we were all a little less grouchy and had, like you talked about, a little more smiles. Because when I think about churches I've been to, I went to a Hispanic church one time, and I can honestly say that was the friendliest church I was ever at. And people remember friendly churches. They remember friendly churches.
She had no idea that they were talking all about the one little white lady in that church all summer. I'm just joking. I'm just teasing. She had no idea what they were saying. Just kidding. Only what they wanted you to know. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
The grandmother of the pastor, or the mother of the pastors, she made sure that her granddaughter sit right beside me. Now you make sure she understands all this. And so she interpreted for me the part that wasn't already being interpreted.
Yeah.
So I knew everything that was going on that they wanted me to know.
I was just joking. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, right?
Yeah.
Anyone else? What should God's family actually look like? What should God's family sound like? What should it act like?
I'll say something, and this is kind of a dirty word in the church because there's so many wrong interpretations of this word, but the word is inclusive. And I've been stuck in the book of Luke, and I was reading the story of Zacchaeus where he's a chief tax collector. He's the most hated guy in town, right? I mean, nobody likes him. Everybody hates him. And yet Jesus says, Zacchaeus, I have to come to your house today. And just that time that he spent around Jesus caused him to want to turn away from that lifestyle that he had been living for all those years. And then Jesus said, Zacchaeus, salvation has come to your house today. And I love that. And that's one of the things God started doing in me a couple years ago with the whole belong, believe, become. Allowing people to belong here before they believe so that they can become disciples. And everyone says, man, that's a great idea, let people belong, until two dudes come in holding hands. You guys got quiet. But we have to let people belong so that the Holy Spirit has time to work in their lives. Not that we accept worldly lifestyles, but we let people hang around an environment where the Holy Spirit can clean the crap and junk out of them. So I'm going to say inclusive. That's going to be my word.
Okay, inclusive.
hear me? Oh, okay. I would say more of a church isn't really what it looks like. It's not a look. I feel like it's more like a feeling or embodiment. I feel like when a church tries to start to look like something, not serving the purpose of what I feel like church is. A church is a feeling, a church is an understanding. It's not really an appearance. Appearances are like clothes. You can wear different things, but it's not the interpretation of who you might be inside.
It's good. So, of the biblical one another commands we've talked about, serving one another, loving one another, encouraging one another, forgiving one another, honoring one another, accepting, praying for one another, which one challenged you the most? Which one of those challenged you the most?
What was the list again?
Serving, loving, encouraging, forgiving, honoring, accepting, praying. Brooke?
For me, it's been about forgiving one another. As someone who has been hurt a lot in my life, I feel like that's one thing I've really struggled with is how to let go of that and move forward.
It's good. I think forgiveness is harder than people let on or admit to sometimes. Thank you. You know, one of the things I think of personally, honoring. Honor is something that's, I don't know, kind of left out in the cold in our culture and generation these days.
What are some examples of what that looks like?
What are some examples of what that looks like?
Honoring, preferring someone over yourself.
Opening a door for somebody. Yes.
When you guys were little, did somebody beat you for talking to church?
I would say accepting. I have a hard time accepting. So you threw out the example,
Yeah.
and I struggle with
Hey,
accepting.
get him the mic because they can't hear him online.
I struggle with the accepting because I'm protective of all the children that I'm with. I'm protective of my children. I'm protective of those that are very highly influenced. And I don't want those people in those scenarios to feel that that is accepted or not. See, there I just said accepted. So I don't want them to feel that is okay or that we condone that. So my struggle would be to accept someone knowing there may be other, I don't know. Yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I know what you're saying, but I'm also in a different hat of how do you guard those that you love against the world if it appears you're accepting their disobedience?
No, I actually think we are on the same page. When I say being inclusive, I mean not being inclusive of their lifestyle, loving them without loving what they're doing, and not watering down the truth of the gospel to make them feel that they can just blend in and everything be okay. But you're exactly right about how do you that's a fine line to walk.
Let's talk about that a little bit because I think that scenario that both Pastor Larry and Aaron described, we can also, a good example might be that's easier for us to grasp would be forgiveness and trust. Forgiveness is not equated to trust. I can still forgive someone and not trust someone. Forgiveness should be automatic, trust is earned. And so I think maybe I don't know if that helps or not, but accepting someone isn't necessarily accepting what they do. It's accepting them as a human being and as a child that God created. I won't say child of God because they may or may not be, but a child that God created. Versus trusting them is something different.
I teach kindergarten, and today we talked about because it's easy for kids to, when someone is constantly getting in trouble, for them to just think they're a bad kid. And those words have come out of kids' mouths before. Well, they're the bad kid. They're not the bad kid. There's no such thing as a bad kid. There's no such thing as a bad girl, a bad boy. It's bad choices. And so it's kind, I mean, that's how I explain it. You know, it's, and I say, okay, raise your hand if you have ever made a bad choice.
Mm-hmm.
We all have. Every last one of us has made a bad choice. Some people choose to continue to make the bad choices, but it doesn't make them a bad person. I don't know.
No, that's I agree completely. I mean, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't, because I used to teach the drug awareness class down at Boswell for 7 years. Myself and another pastor in town. I always taught them that there are no bad people. There's a jail full right down the street of people that are not bad people. Just people who made bad choices. And so I think that is very important to remember and understand, that one choice leads to another, to another, to another, and it leads them to where they have suffered some major consequences and did some very bad things, but it doesn't make them a bad person, because God doesn't create junk. But at the same time, you know, there are consequences for the sin that we do and the choices that we make. And so accepting them isn't necessarily accepting, as Pastor Larry said, their behaviors and giving them the same status as, but still allowing them to belong. Anyway, we got a lot more questions, so we'll keep rolling on this one. But which do you think our church does particularly well out of those one another commands as a whole? Which do you think our church does particularly well? What have you experienced in this house where you feel like, man, I felt this way? Whether that's loved or served or encouraged or shown forgiveness, honored, accepted, felt prayed for. Which of those do you think we've, as a church, as a whole, have done well?
So I think our church does this really well, and that's loving people that make bad choices. You know, and that's the thing is, I mean, going back to what we were just talking about a little bit ago, I mean, I've dealt with some things like this in my family. So I mean, and I'm just being honest, and because here's the deal. That's another thing about this church that we do well, is it's okay for people to be transparent here. You know, and when they got something going on, or there may be something going on in their family, nobody looks at them bad. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, but we're also not afraid to explain what the Bible says and how things are really supposed to be. You know, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? But it's not, Pastor Larry, and you yourself, you never do it in a way that's going to make somebody get up out of their seat and leave. You know what I'm saying? You love people in everything that you teach. That way they can learn, and it don't run. You know what I mean? It don't turn them away from God. I like that.
And I think Frank, you know, you pointed at Pastor Larry and I, but it's really you. you guys have done that too. So much. You know, I've never seen.
Nobody stands in a corner and whispers when somebody comes to the door.
That's what I was just going to say, or nose up in the air because of, you know. Absolutely. Which one do you think we could grow in? I mean, we're getting down and dirty. Come on. Same one we're still talking about.
I'm going to say all of them.
Okay, let's take this a little deeper then. What is the difference between being a friendly church and actually being a family?
Let them know when they are doing something wrong.
Friendly's on surface.
Making sure that we're not afraid to tell them the truth when they are doing something wrong. You can be a friend to someone and just make them feel like they belong, but the family is going to be the one that actually has the difficult conversation that lets them know that they're in the wrong.
It's the difference between having a surface relationship with someone and depth. You know, I can go to Walmart and have a conversation with someone and ask about their day. I mean, you know, I do that, you know, whether it's a former student's parents or anyone, you know, I'll just check in with them. But do I really know what's going on in their life to speak into them? Not unless they've blasted it on Facebook, which that happens. And sometimes I am able to speak into that. But like, you know, if something is going on in your life or your life, and I'm able to really dive in deep with you instead of just, hey, have a good day. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Hey, see ya. What are you eating for lunch? But no, hey, how's your daughter doing with that issue? Or how is, you know, how's that relationship going? I know you guys have been struggling with such and such. It's surface versus depth. Family can be surface too, I'm not saying that. But truly loving people enough to get into their life.
And speaking the truth in love to that person. And I shared this with Aaron. There was a Dream Team member a while back, a man who showed up to serve, and he was wearing a dress. And so I went to him and I said, you know I love you, and I'm your pastor, and I care about you, but you can't wear that and represent the leadership here at Family Church. But I love you. And I wish I could say, you know, that he understood, but he did not. But I didn't go up to him and be like, what are you doing, you stupid idiot? You're mad you're wearing, you know what I mean? Like just pouring hate all over him and you know, making him feel small. I went to him and just said, I love you, but if you're going to be a leader here, you have to set a better example. And I think that's speaking the truth in love.
And to build upon that, because you're responsible for speaking the truth. We are responsible for speaking the truth, but it's up to them how they receive the truth. We can't control that. But then another thing I wanted to bring up was just flat out listening. Some people don't want to open up for whatever reason, but there are people who do. We went camping the last couple of days, and there was some people beside us. I met this woman within 5 minutes. I knew her entire life story and everything that was going on, and I was able to minister her just a little bit about that. But when she saw that I was going to listen to what she had to say, it all just came gushing out. So we just need to maybe, and that builds on what Lindsay said, stop and look and listen.
I think you guys are saying a lot of kind of what I was even thinking as I was listening to you guys, you know. When I think of family, I mean, I don't have a choice of who my family are. And I either choose to love them or I don't. If we just have that, you know, I think Lindsay said it best, that surface level relationship, sometimes you see someone that is doing something wrong. It's easy just to kind of ignore, just kind of go the other way, kind of give them space. But true family, I mean, they're your family. What are you going to do with it? You know? Accept them, love them anyway, love them through it. I mean, I'm for speaking truth. I'm not saying, you know, we spend a lot of time with that, and that's great. But, you know, a lot of people don't need to know the truth. They just need to be loved in the truth. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that's for everyone, but somebody that's done wrong, a lot of times they know they've done wrong. But how do we react as their family versus a friend? A friend might, like I said, just kind of skirt and ignore it, right? Because it's awkward. Family's in the mess. You know, we're in it. That's why I guess I don't, and this is probably going to come off really, really bad from a person that's a pastor of a church, but I don't understand how people just get offended, irritated, mad, and leave the church. It's like, am I going to get offended, irritated, mad, and leave my family? No. It's like, I'm going to work it out one way or another. We're going to get through this thing. You know, it may not be great, and I may not be happy about it all the time, but we're going to get through it, right? And believe me, if your family's like any of mine, we've had our moments and our struggles. But guess what? We're still together. We're still family. This family sticks together. So I guess I'm wired different when it comes to that, because I think of my family and my church family. I mean, they're both family. I don't see them much different. Jackie makes me mad. I'm not going to leave. We may have some knockout dragouts. And you know what? We may agree to disagree. But I'm still going to accept him. Why? Because he's family. That's the premise when I always tell people, you know, we may not always like each other, but we got to love each other, right? May not always like every family member at one particular time. They may make me really mad at times, right? But it doesn't mean I don't love them. Because love is action, love is choice. Right? Anyway. So we're running out of time, so let's move on to oh my gosh, there's two more. Connected. Okay, you have a place. When did you first begin to feel like you weren't just attending, but were actually a part of this church, of this family? Anybody remember that time when you felt like you weren't just occupying a seat? You were.
Dream team.
What about it?
Once you commit to a part of something, then you own a piece of it.
First time I was invited over to someone's house by a member here.
Good. Oh, one over here, Jackie.
For me, as a parent, knowing that my son enjoys coming to church, and he will ask, Mom, it's Wednesday, are we going to church? Mom, it's Sunday, are we going to church? Like, I don't have to force him. He genuinely gets up and wants to go. So, like, knowing that he feels like this is his place too has made this church feel more at home for me.
I would say
Dream team, dream team, dream team, dream team. And I got to know Mel at Love and Laundry. Raise your hand, Mel. And some of you guys may not know her because she's kind of quiet. And I had never gotten to have a conversation really face-to-face with you. And then she came to Love and Laundry last Tuesday night, and Mike Shearer and I were there. And so we were able to learn a little bit about where she was from and what her job is and where she lives and all that stuff. And that would have never, ever probably, that conversation might not have ever happened in the church lobby, but it happened at a Love and Laundry. So that was awesome.
And see, I love that answer. That's from your senior pastor, but it's not because he's trying to solicit and get Dream Team members. It's because of an experience he had by operating as a volunteer, as a Dream Team person. Anyone else? I don't want to cut anyone off. So what helps people develop meaningful relationships here beyond Sunday? Oh, go ahead.
So what made us feel really, really comfortable here is whenever we started going to church here, then within, I don't know how long it took, but within no time, our kids started seeing a light in us. All of our kids started going to church here. Amanda's ex-husband started going to church here. We all sit in the same row. Oftentimes my ex-wife might be here.
All in the same row.
All in the same row, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, but by
That was
seeing
awesome, by the way. When I
this is-
see that, it's just
Hey, but
like,
this is not something that, this wasn't like this all the time before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, and that's what God did, and it's, I feel like this church family made it that way, because, I mean, it's, everything's okay, you know what I mean? I mean, and everybody lets you know that, I mean.
crazy story. There was someone that observed their family and thought that Amanda's husband and ex-husband were brothers. I was like, but the fact that even could be mistaken tells you something. That's how family should work. Anyway, anyone else? I didn't want to cut anybody off. Let me skip to a different question here because we are starting to run out of time. What are some barriers that make it hard for people to get connected?
I think some people feel like they aren't equipped to serve in the church, especially in nursery or children's ministry, that they aren't going to have the skills and or the knowledge to be able to work with children or wherever in the church. Mm-hmm. But if God puts it on your heart, He's going to equip you to do that job, whatever it is that you feel like you're being called to do in the church.
Well, this is hard to talk about because I don't want anybody to get offended. But and I have been in churches that have been really, it's been a big deal in them. But when we get so comfortable that we only have 4, 5, 6 people, and that's all we ever talk to, and then we don't even see the new ones that have come in. I don't like the word, but people call them cliques. I don't want to go to that church because they're full of cliques. And I've been to those churches, and it is not a good situation. So we just all need to bear in mind that, yeah, we got to be friendly with all of our people and love on them. But don't forget to go pick out the other one, the one nobody else is talking to. And not just stick to your 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
That's okay. Debbie, and then we'll come back to Aaron.
I just think sometimes busyness is something that is difficult for people to overcome. Like
Can you speak up into the mic?
Somebody mentioned inviting someone to their home, and sometimes people just feel busy and like, oh, I'm too busy to do that. So I think sometimes busyness is one of those factors.
And what I'm think just to clarify real quick, sorry, Aaron, just to clarify really quick, you mean the busyness of us not giving that invite to someone else, and that's a barrier for them. Is that?
Well, like, I might feel very busy, and so it might be hard for me to invite someone over.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
I feel like I'm already overwhelmed with
Right.
everything that's going on in my life, that sometimes busyness can interfere.
Right.
I think sometimes being able to, just say, I know things are busy, but we got to make time for this.
Good. Aaron?
So I think maybe the past career in HR has turned me off of adults. So I found conversations with kids are always easier. And more enjoyable a lot of the time. But in the very same breath, I've made a lot of friends that I wouldn't have if I wouldn't have taught their kids, because it was their kids that then introduced me to the parents. So people that I would have never probably went out of my way to go speak with, because I'm not an adult people-y person, I have got an opportunity to meet because of having something in common, right? A Carson that would introduce me to the adults. I don't know if that just made sense.
Sometimes it's fear of rejection. Both ways. Like for the person that's coming in and doesn't know anyone, and sometimes it's the person that, and I'm speaking for myself, this is something I struggle with all the time. I will not I want to have a party at my house. I want to invite people, but I won't do it out of fear of rejection. And it doesn't matter if everybody's busy and they can't come because they're busy. In my mind, it's because I'm having it. So it's a legit thing for people. I'm working on it. I'm better than I was. But, and it could go both ways. Sometimes people are afraid to go talk to you out of that fear. Well, they're not going to like me, or they already have their people, so I'll just stay over here. Go both ways.
Yeah. Think about, when I think of these barriers about getting people getting connected, think about again what first-time people coming to this church, 80 to 90% of them are bringing a suitcase full of baggage. And guess what? It's not hand-me-outs. It's crap. Oh, I'm going to go introduce myself to so-and-so because, I want to meet somebody. That's probably the last thing on their mind. Right? Keeping those kind of things in our mind and our thinking. Because, it's easy for us to... Past judgment might be a little harsh, but just to see somebody, why are they sitting way over there in the corner, all by themselves, on a Wednesday night? Maybe because they're ashamed, because they're one of the 5 Ds, and they're just really looking for a lifeline. Maybe just noticing them is enough to walk over, say hi, give them a smile. We can all do that, right? Sorry, this was meant to be question and answer, not preaching, but that's what I'm hearing from all of you is taking that idea right up here, Jackie, or Pastor Larry sprinted. Fit Pastor beat you, sorry. But taking this from you and thinking about some of those things and being conscientious of going outside of your friend group that you haven't seen all week and looking, just to look. Melissa?
I keep hearing over and over new people coming in, visitors coming in, which is great. We have to reach out to the visitors What about the people that have been here a year, 6 months, that still feel disconnected, have two friends that actually pay attention, that still feel the lack of confidence to go talk to people. Ariana loves to put me in here shaking hands, which is great, but it's not my comfort zone. I'm willing to do it, but a lot of the times it's because I'm so desperate to connect with someone. This is me being very real. I don't feel like I fit in here a lot. I feel like I have 3 or 4, but that deep connection that I so desire, I don't have, and I want that. And I know everybody's busy, everybody has their jobs, you know, you gotta do, but you gotta pay attention to the people that are already here that have been coming, not just the new people that are coming in. You know, it's just, I've invited
Well,
people to church.
and let me clarify, you know, when I said what I said, it's not just new people. I said people that you didn't recognize, right? If you don't know someone, go meet them. Go introduce them to yourself, right?
Yeah, and
So-
like Tim said, you know, you can put on whatever clothes you want to walk into the building. But until people are willing to take the time, then people don't know. They don't know what you're going through. They don't know what's happening in your lives.
Yeah. So how do we address that? How do we fix that?
Well, one thing we just talked about in staff meeting, you put on the calendar is the meet and greet for the new people. Like if you've been here, if you've been hanging around here for a year or more, we're going to get together and roast hot dogs and sit around and talk about our families and get to know one another better. So I think that's like September 26th or something like that. So that's something that's been on Pastor Kevin's heart for a while, is helping a lot of our new people that maybe they haven't been here for all that long, or maybe they've been here for a couple years. They still haven't found their fit, to be able to get together with other people and make those connections. So I think that is something that God is also, if you're feeling that way, then, you know, there must be other people that feel that way too, right? And so if we start to actively work on creating those environments where new people can come and even just get to know the staff better, you know, and get to know one another better, I think that is going to be awesome.
So I know time is up, but I want to ask this question because this is good stuff, I think, right here. So I'd love to hear from 1 or 2 people that are connected, that are plugged in. How did they do that? I'll get back to you, Brooke. Just give me a second. How did you feel connected? How did you make it happen? What is the one thing where you feel like made the biggest difference of being connected for those that feel somewhat connected already? Come on, there's got to be some in this room.
Aaron's right, just showing up to different events, and obviously we can't all make them all. But I was going to mention Dream Team, being in with the float trips. Yeah, like I feel like as a church we do put on a lot of activities where people can come and get together. But Dream Team helped me meet a lot of different people that I wouldn't typically talk to. And then when I first started coming, we had like a young adults group, and we got together at people's houses. And that really got us close. But I think the biggest thing for me was our Family Church University, when we had our small groups on Wednesday nights. Kind of like this setting where we can all talk to each other and actually get to know people, because otherwise, you know, we kind of come in, kind of go out, say hi to a few people, and you just can't really get to know each other during a service. So I think small groups is a big thing.
Who else would maybe agree with Alicia? Can I get a hand show of events or groups, small groups in particular? Okay. But it's not only though, I mean, that could come back on church leadership, because we could say, okay, we need to have more small groups. But it also comes to you, you need to go to them. right?
Or lead them.
Or lead them.
I mean, that's where I got to know a lot of people is when I had small groups in my home. And like really got to know like what was going on in their life.
But that puts you out on time.
It did.
Put you out on.
But we had some good
on-
small groups. We had some Holy Ghost small groups.
It's a lot of people don't feel like I'm just not a small group leader. What's the qualification for a small group leader?
2 people are a small group. 2 people are a small group. You can start there and work out.
I really think from what I'm seeing over the crowd, I think a lot of Melissa's answer might be putting yourself out there, number 1, but also number 2, finding events and going. But then when you go, again, we don't stay in our cliques. Meet people, get out of your comfort, right? That's the only way we do this thing is, we can have small groups, but if nobody shows up, why? And I say that only because, and I'm not getting on anybody, but at the same time, there's a lot of times when I felt like as leadership, it came back to us, but then we had an FC Ladies Bible study where 1 person showed up. Now, it was great. They had a great time, didn't you, Melissa? But, it's just like, okay, when we put these, somebody goes to the trouble of putting those on, somebody goes to the trouble of making food at your house, or somebody goes to the trouble of a Bible study, and then one person, when there's, and if we were a small church of 20, 30 people, 1 person showed up, I'd say, hey, that's awesome, and even, it was still awesome. Don't get me wrong, but there's probably about 30 or 20 that really needed that, and for whatever reason, just weren't there. And I'm not saying you got to be in every group. Don't hear me wrong, but a lot of times we can say, I don't feel connected, but maybe the barrier isn't just it's not available. It's also, are we doing it? And the other side of it is are we who have small groups and leaders? Are we? The best way to get people to come to your group or small group or deal? Feed them, yeah, but second best way to come? Invite them. Word of mouth is your best advertisement.
Who wants to join my running group?
Okay. We are 5 minutes over, but this is good stuff. I like this because you know what? These are real situations and real things that people are going with. And I'm not negating any, I'm not trying to poo-poo any, I'm not getting on anybody's case, and I'm certainly not preaching to anybody because this is round table stuff. But hopefully this gave all of us some really things to think about because, if anyone ever comes up to me and says, why don't we have more small groups? I said, that's a great idea. You want to lead one? That's my first and really only answer, because really.
On that note, looking for what you need in other people. Like if you see somebody needing the same thing that you need, then you can help them meet their need, and it ends up meeting your own.
Mm-hmm.
So watching for somebody else that's not really connected can allow you to establish connection.
And one thing though too, again, not negating what you just said, but if we become a church with a habit of going to people we don't know and introducing ourselves, I think you will find more community within a year of that person being there if we took the time and made it a routine habit of introducing ourselves to people we don't know. Because that's the first thing, and that takes all of us going out of our comfort zone. Introverted or not introverted, extroverted, it doesn't matter. There's still, even in an extroverted person, there's still that, let me pick on Lindsay. She is one of the most extroverted people that I know, but yet she still feared rejection. We all will and do. But until you put yourself out there for someone else, you will always guaranteed have the same result of what you have now. So I think this stuff has been really good. How many else feel like it's been really good? Because, again, I think there's a really big balance of what makes church better. You can't depend on leadership to make church better. Especially when I know a lot of the people that are in leadership of this church. You can't. And guess what? I'm not picking on anybody else. It's right here, all right? No, but it takes all of us. And I think if anything that this Together series, I hope, in this round table has done is maybe highlighted some things. Each one of us can just make a mental note and say, I can do that better. I can do this better. Because you know what? I've done the same thing now. I know some things I can do better just by this conversation. So I hope you did too. It's 7:38. I'm sorry to keep you guys so long, but this has been good. You enjoyed it?